What were the anti-war protests? What were the anti-war protests during the Vietnam War? These protests were a significant chapter in American history, showing widespread opposition to United States involvement in Vietnam. They were not just about the war. They reflected broader social and political movements of the time, including the civil rights movement and the feminist movement. The anti-war movement began to take shape in the early 1960s. The first major protests occurred in 1964. Initially, these protests were small and mainly included pacifists and socialists. As the United States escalated its involvement in Vietnam, the movement grew rapidly. By 1965, demonstrations against the war became more frequent and attracted larger crowds. The movement used various tactics and events to express its opposition. One popular method was the teach-in. These were educational forums modeled after seminars from the civil rights movement. They raised awareness about the war and its consequences. National protests also took place, with large-scale demonstrations in cities like Washington, D.C. These events drew tens of thousands of participants, showcasing the movement's strength. Civil disobedience became a common tactic as well. Actions such as sit-ins, draft card burnings, and blockades of military facilities highlighted the urgency of the cause. The anti-war movement was not isolated. It was connected to other social movements of the time. It attracted support from students, civil rights activists, feminists, and labor unions. The impact of the anti-war movement was significant. It contributed to a shift in public opinion against the war. By the late 1960s, a majority of Americans considered the war a mistake. From a socialist perspective, the anti-war movement challenged the capitalist and imperialist policies that underpinned United States involvement in Vietnam. Socialists and other left-wing groups played a vital role in organizing and sustaining the movement. They argued that the war was a product of capitalist interests. They believed that ending the war required a broader critique of United States foreign policy and economic systems. The legacy of the anti-war movement during the Vietnam War set a precedent for future social movements. It demonstrated the power of mass mobilization and grassroots activism. The movement highlighted how diverse groups could come together around a common cause. It challenged dominant political narratives and pushed for social change. The anti-war protests were more than just opposition to a conflict. They were a reflection of a society grappling with its values and direction.